If you're studying for the INBDE, I highly recommend INBDE Bootcamp, an all-in-one study resource that will help you pass your exam. Use coupon code MENTALDENTAL for 10% off. Hey everyone, Dr. Ryan here, and welcome back to Mental Dental. In this Dental Mythbusters series, I'll be taking a common dental belief, putting it under the microscope, and asking one question. Is it fact, fiction, or somewhere in between? And I'll use evidence to support or deny the claim, so you know as a patient, student, or doctor what the truth really is. Today's myth is, do wisdom teeth cause your front teeth to crowd? Let's find out. This is one of the most common things I hear as an orthodontist. A patient will come in, they'll point to their lower front teeth and say, my teeth used to be straight, but then my wisdom teeth came in and pushed everything forward and made everything crooked. And honestly, I totally get why people believe this. The timing is suspicious. Your wisdom teeth usually develop in your late teens or early 20s, and that's also around the same time many people start noticing their lower front teeth getting more crowded. So today we're putting this dental myth to the test. Do wisdom teeth really cause crowding? The verdict? Busted. Mostly. It's not completely impossible, but wisdom teeth are probably not the main reason your lower front teeth are crowding. Let's talk about why. First, I want to give this myth some credit because it's not a ridiculous idea. In dentistry, we already know that teeth can erupt with forces that affect nearby teeth. For example, when the permanent first molars erupt in a child at around age 6, they can move slightly forward and help close the primate spaces, and this is called early mesial shift. Then later, when the permanent second molars erupt at around age 12, they can be associated with mesial movement that helps use up some of the leeway space left behind by the primary second molars. That's called late mesial shift. So it feels logical to say, okay, if the first molars and the second molars can both move things forward, well, maybe the third molars, the wisdom teeth, push from the back and crowd the front teeth. That explanation's simple, it makes intuitive sense, and it gives patients a clear villain to blame. But here's the problem. The early and the late mesial shifts are about closing nearby space, relatively nearby space, in a developing child's dentition. That's very different from saying a wisdom tooth in the very back of the mouth can push an entire arch of teeth forward, not to close space, but to actually crowd the incisors all the way at the front, as an adult no less. That would mean the force from this lonely tooth back here would have to travel through the second molar, through the first molar, the premolars, the canine, and then finally reach the incisors. That's a ton of teeth for one tooth to push. So the question is not, can teeth be moved? Of course, teeth can move. They have a mind of their own, trust me. The real question is, are wisdom teeth strong enough and consistent enough to be the main cause of late lower incisor crowding? And the research does not strongly support that claim. Here's what we see all the time. The lower front teeth tend to crowd with age, and this can begin as early as age 17 or 18 in some patients. In others, it becomes more noticeable in their mid-20s. And honestly, I see this constantly in adult orthodontic patients. A lot of them come to me for one main reason, that their lower front teeth are getting crooked. Sometimes they had braces before, sometimes they never had orthodontic treatment at all, sometimes they have their wisdom teeth, sometimes they had their wisdom teeth removed already, sometimes they're born without wisdom teeth at all. And yet, late lower incisor crowding can still happen in all of those patients. That right there is one of the biggest clues that wisdom teeth alone are not the whole story. If wisdom teeth were the main cause, we would expect people with wisdom teeth to consistently have more crowding than people without wisdom teeth. But that's not what the research shows. Lower incisor crowding can happen whether third molars are present or absent, erupted or impacted, removed or retained. That doesn't mean third molars never play any role, though. In some patients, especially when there's limited space in the back of the arch, they may be part of the overall picture, but not the full story. That's why I like to tell patients blaming your wisdom teeth for incisor crowding is kind of like blaming the last person who walked into an already crowded elevator. Did they help the situation? No. But did they create the entire crowding problem by themselves? Probably not. So if that theory is mostly busted, what other theories do we have for late lower incisor crowding? Well, the second theory is called Begg's theory, named after Raymond Begg, an Australian orthodontist. Begg studied populations with much more tooth wear than we typically see today. Their diets were tougher and more abrasive, so their teeth wore down not only on the chewing surfaces, but also between the teeth, which is called interproximal wear. The idea was that this dynamic friction between teeth created a little extra space over time. So in those populations, even though teeth naturally drifted forward, the teeth also became slightly narrower over time, which helped prevent crowding from that late mesial shift, so to speak. By contrast, our modern diet is much softer, so we don't get perhaps the same amount of natural tooth wear. So according to this theory, because our teeth are not wearing down between those contact points, crowding becomes more likely. It's a really interesting theory, and I think there's some value in it. I mean, I frequently do what's called IPR, or interproximal reduction, intentionally as part of orthodontic treatment in order to make room to resolve crowding without having to overexpand, overprocline, or extract teeth. But again, this theory probably doesn't explain everything. Modern crowding patterns are much more complicated than saying soft diet equals no tooth wear equals crowding. We have genetics, jaw size, tooth size, growth patterns, oral habits, and soft tissue pressures, which all matter too. Crowding is multifactorial. Many factors can contribute to it. So Begg's theory might contribute to the story somewhat, but it's not the whole story either. The third theory is probably the most useful clinically: late mandibular growth. Here's the basic idea. Even after the major adolescent growth spurt, the mandible can continue to show small growth and remodeling changes. In some patients, the mandible continues to grow slightly forward over time. Now imagine the lower jaw moving forward a little bit, while the upper incisors and lower lip are already creating a tight boundary of sorts around the lower incisors, like a box expanding while the lid stays the same size. The lower incisors don't have unlimited room to keep moving forward, so they might compensate by tipping more lingually or inward toward the tongue. When the lower incisors tip inward, the arch perimeter is reduced, or the arch circumference decreases. And when the arch perimeter decreases, the same teeth now have less room to fit, and that can lead to crowding. That's a much better explanation for why the lower front teeth often get crowded with age, even in people who don't have wisdom teeth. It also explains why orthodontic stability is so challenging. The teeth are not sitting in concrete. They're sitting in bone, surrounded by lips and cheeks and the tongue, periodontal fibers, occlusal forces, and a face that continues to change over time. And that's also why retention matters so much. This is why we orthodontists care so much about retainers. A lot of people think retainers are only needed for a year or two after orthodontic treatment. But the reality is, teeth will continue to shift throughout your life. That doesn't mean every person will have severe relapse if they don't wear the retainer, but if your lower front teeth were crowded before, or if you have a tendency toward crowding, then you're certainly at risk for those teeth shifting again. The same is true for spacing. That's why I usually tell patients retainers are nighttime for a lifetime. Your retainers are not just holding the result of our treatment, they're also fighting against your natural changes from aging. So when someone says, my wisdom teeth made my teeth crooked again, I often ask, were you still wearing your retainers every night? Because the answer I usually get, if they're being honest, is no. The bigger issue is not the wisdom teeth. It's that lower front teeth are naturally prone to crowding over time without a retainer to hold them straight. So if you're currently dealing with this problem and you don't want it to get worse, go see your favorite orthodontist, which is me. So the final verdict for do wisdom teeth cause crowding is no, not really. Crowding is multifactorial, and it's probably too simplistic to blame wisdom teeth alone. The better explanation is your teeth, jaws, and soft tissues continue to change over time, and the lower front teeth are especially vulnerable to those changes because of the late mandibular growth that people often experience. Even if it's minimal, that pressure from the lips as the lower teeth are carried forward and the box is expanding while the lid stays the same size, that's going to cause those lower front teeth to crowd. Now, a separate question, and another great question, is should wisdom teeth always be removed? And the answer is it depends. If they're causing pain, infection, cavities, periodontal problems, cysts, damage to the second molars, or if they're impossible to clean and likely to cause future problems, well, yes, that's an emphatic yes, they should be removed. There's a ton of reasons to have your wisdom teeth taken out. But removing wisdom teeth just to prevent lower front tooth crowding, the evidence does not strongly support that decision. So the next time someone says, my wisdom teeth messed my teeth up, you can tell them maybe they were standing at the scene of the crime, but they probably weren't the mastermind. If you enjoyed this video of Dental Mythbusters, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to this channel, and let me know in the comments what myth you want me to cover next. Thanks again for watching, take care, God bless, and I'll see you in the next video.